I'm sorry I did that to us, man. Oh,
No, please.
he's just good.
The you of then was on a path of self-destruction.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would have, for sure, 100%. Yeah. It would have been no bueno. It was bad. I don't know if I'd be alive, for sure. It was dark. So I'm very, very grateful to have influences in my life that have played a huge part in me seeing their relationship with Jesus and their relationship with their wives and their relationship with their kids and saying that's what I want. But I want to definitely tell my story so that if that resonates to anybody, that they can hopefully. But yeah, just protecting those moments because people take for granted encounters and
So many horrific accusations, though, involving young singers, young, like children.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Oh, I gotta feel that experience. I'm coming back. So, Happy New Year! Woo!
You know, Diddy bought his son a Bentley. Maybe, you know, he could buy you one also while you're
He
out.
got me a Lamborghini.
Oh, well, that's nice.
I haven't gotten it yet, though.
Yeah, I know. When is that coming, that Lamborghini? We talked about this last
He
time.
had the Lamborghini for a day or two, and he had access to the house, and he knows better than to be talking about the things that he does with Big Brother Puff on national television.
Because I think if a victim comes out against Usher, it'll show how egregious this shit is. Because if he can be a predator, then anybody can be a predator.
Can't smile in your face the whole time.
You feel what I'm saying? Like, people look at Usher, they don't see that. They're not seeing the victim. They're not seeing that boy that got rushed to the hospital. They're not seeing what the intentions was in his heart when he took Justin Bieber there.
Oh.
Let's be honest. He took Justin Bieber there. Diddy had been trying to get to Bieber for a minute. And his management was backing him off. But it wasn't until Usher took over management and had guardianship and gave temporary guardianship to the diddler for 48 hours. Think about that.
You know, Justin Bieber had a post the other day on his Instagram talking about all the drugs that he did when he was younger and how much it fucked him up. And now he's got a relationship with the Lord and he's got, you know, he's married and he's trying to be a normal person.
Yeah.
But he's struggling with the fact that he was insanely famous when he was a kid.
The truth didn't come out in a tabloid headline. It didn't come from an explosive interview or a flashy press conference. It came in the form of quiet, devastating facts. One by one, those facts dropped onto Joe Rogan's desk like bricks. And as he read them live on air, the world watched a man unravel the truth and struggle to keep his composure. This wasn't just another celebrity commentary. This was a reckoning. The podcast started normally enough, with Joe shuffling through papers, setting up what seemed like another celebrity deep dive. But a few minutes in, the tone changed. His hands stopped moving. His voice slowed. What he held in front of him wasn't gossip. It was documentation, contracts, logs, statements, and footage, all centered around one name, Justin Bieber, and one connection that raised more questions than answers: Diddy. Joe began by replaying a now infamous clip. In it, Diddy proudly declared that he was spending a weekend with 15-year-old Bieber. He described it as a dream for a kid that age, hinting at luxury and fun, but giving away no specifics. "He's with me for the next 48 hours, Diddy said, with a grin that now feels unsettling in hindsight. To Joe Rogan, this wasn't entertainment. It was a red flag. You don't just have a teenager for 48 hours, Joe said, brows furrowed. Where were the boundaries? Where were the adults? As he dug deeper, Joe uncovered that these mentorship weekends weren't isolated events. There were multiple instances where Bieber was flown out, often alone, to join Diddy for what insiders described as career-building intensives. But the reality looked much different. Documents showed last-minute travel bookings, security clearances signed by non-guardians, and handwritten notes from Justin asking for rest, for breaks, for space. One note simply read, "I'm not ready for this. "Can I go home?" That was the moment the air left the room. Joe held the paper up and paused, his voice barely audible. "That's not a superstar, that's a scared kid." And then came the footage. Joe played a short surveillance clip, time-stamped at 3:14 a.m. It showed a young Bieber, still in his stage clothes, walking quietly down a hallway inside a rented mansion linked to one of Diddy's private corporations. He was flanked by 2 adults. No words were exchanged, just movement, just tension. And just over his shoulder, the camera caught a whiteboard inside a room with the words, "Full schedule, no exceptions," written in red. Beneath it, no phones, limited sleep, vocal endurance drills. Joe froze the frame. "This isn't grooming talent," he said, "this is control." Behind the scenes, Justin had no say in the structure of his day. High-pressure rehearsals, impromptu interviews, surprise meetings, and appearances at events he didn't even know he was booked for. The people making decisions weren't his parents, and in many cases, not even his manager. They were individuals connected to Diddy, operating in the shadows, pushing the image of Bieber while ignoring the person behind it. And where was Usher in all this? Rogan didn't hold back. Usher brought Justin into the business, but when things got intense, instead of shielding him, he passed him along. One industry insider described Usher as washing his hands of the situation once Diddy stepped in. Joe then presented a series of emails between production companies and Diddy's team, negotiating Justin's availability like a commodity. These weren't collaboration invites. These were directives. He will attend. He is expected. Delay other appearances if needed. Joe leaned forward. "When you strip away the music, the fans, the awards, you have a kid being treated like property." What hurt the most was that Bieber didn't even realize how damaging it all was until much later. His recent social media posts alluded to the mental strain, the sleepless nights, and the constant pressure. He spoke vaguely of being watched constantly, of losing his voice. Not just musically, but personally. Joe used that to pivot into the most damning evidence. A set of legal documents showing Diddy's temporary access to Justin's lodging, transport, and even personal security during certain trips. Joe shook his head, holding up the signed authorization. This gave him full control without ever being on the official record as a manager or legal guardian. How was this allowed? More insiders began reaching out after the episode aired. Other young artists, some whose names were never made public, shared stories about their mentorship weekends that felt more like boot camps than inspiration. Isolated from family, cut off from their teams, rehearsals that blurred into therapy sessions that turned into PR briefings, and at the center of it all, one man calling the shots, Diddy. This wasn't just about Justin Bieber. This was about a pattern. Joe pulled up a quote from a past interview where Howard Stern once joked, "Would you let your kid go to Diddy's camp?" The immediate response from Usher at the time, "Absolutely not." That joke now landed with a grim aftertaste. "So it wasn't okay for your own kid," Joe said, voice hardening. "But it was okay for someone else's?" By the second hour, the ripple effect had already begun. At least 2 companies began scrubbing their catalogs of Diddy collaborations. A planned documentary highlighting moguls of hip-hop quietly removed his name from its lineup, and fans flooded social media with one question: how did this go unnoticed for so long? Joe answered bluntly, because no one wanted to challenge the image. Diddy had power, influence. If you spoke up, your career could vanish. But Justin Bieber had spoken up carefully, quietly, through his own words, not with accusations, but with clarity. He admitted he was overwhelmed, that the industry burned him out, that he spiraled into fear and anxiety before he could even vote. Joe said those words should have set off alarms years ago. He ended the episode with a promise. All ad revenue from the broadcast would go to foundations that support young artists, ones that push for transparency, mental health resources, and balanced career mentorship. "Let's build a new blueprint," Joe said, "one where talent doesn't come at the cost of peace of mind." As the episode faded out, there was no victory lap, no dramatic finale, just a simple truth. One artist's pain, one host's heartbreak, and one empire that could no longer hide behind the beat of its own legend. Diddy may have shaped the sound of a generation, but the truth? It's starting to echo louder than any track he ever produced.